All right. I remember, I don't know what made me remember this. Something made me remember this. Maybe it's because I'm feeling right now that, I got surgery coming up. There's just got a lot of stuff to do. I'm kind of overwhelmed. And I was thinking of one of my favorite verses. And it is where Jesus is walking along. He decides to go in. He's going to have dinner at Mary and Martha's house, two sisters, or one of their houses. So both are one, but they're sisters. And so they're going to have this dinner. I guess, a bunch of people coming and all this. And so Mary is sitting there just hanging out with Jesus, and they're just talking, right? Just sitting at his feet, it says, just sitting there hanging. And Martha is getting everything ready and hurrying, scurrying, and all this kind of stuff. And then she gets frustrated because Mary's not helping her, and Martha's doing all the work. And she comes back, she says, kind of, frustrated naturally. So you can probably identify with that. And she says, Lord, she's not helping me with anything. I need some, there's a lot to be done. And look at her, and she's not. And Jesus turned to her and he said this, Martha, Martha, you are distracted and bothered by so many things. Really, only a few are necessary. Really, only one. And Mary has chosen the good thing, and it won't be taken away from her. Wow. Now, we know that doesn't mean don't get the food ready for a party, right? And we know it doesn't mean don't help your sister. But there was something going on there. Like to see who knows what overboard maybe Martha was doing. That's not the point of the story. The point of the story is Jesus is contrasting what's really, really, really important is relationship, abiding, connecting with the people that are important to us, and connecting with God. And he said, really, it's just a few things, really only one. I mean, I'd love to know what that other list was. There's really only a couple of things or a few things, but really only one, because it is all about relationship, ultimately. So here's your little audit. Write down all the things that you're obsessing about right now. How many of them are going to be important a year from now? How many of them are going to be important a week from now? How many things you get upset about are going to be important a minute and a half later? Somebody kind of loses it. It's gone. It's not important at all. And how many chronic stress reactions do people have? I was putting some material together on stress last night. And talking about the distinctives, the categories of, you got acute stress, stuff's going on right now. And then you got episodic stress, and people kind of, keep having episodes. And there's this chronic stress. And the chronic stress tends to be from the way people are kind of Martha wired, right? And everything like triggers everything. It's like everything is like alert. Their system goes alert, and cortisol and adrenaline and all this stuff's being released all the time because I'm so worried and bothered by so many things. Make a list. I know that sounds cheesy, people, but your brain can use this sometimes. We know how this works. Make a list and look at everything that you are stressed and bothered about. And I just want you to use a simple numbering system. How about 1 to 5? If something's really important, it's just going to last, put a 1 by it. If it's pretty important, not equal to a one, somebody you really love, or you know what matters to you. Anyway, just look at that. And here's a couple of things I want you to look at. Are you equally stressed about the ones and the fives? Really? That's what we need to say to ourselves. Look in the mirror and go, really? I'm that upset about this as much as I am this. I remember a guy at an airport one time who was losing it because he didn't get the seat. He wanted to yell at the gate agent and upset and all that. And I'm going, dude, what do you sound like when you have a real problem? This is not a real problem. This is an inconvenience at best. So, what are we bothered by? What do you let bother you? You know, your bother meter is kind of like a window to your soul. When you look at what bothers you, it tells you a lot. It is like a dashboard. Do you get bothered with somebody you aren't even that invested in or know or whatever when they don't like you or don't approve of something you're doing? I remember one of my favorite sayings I heard somebody say years ago. I still use it all the time. Don't count your critics, weigh them. How much weight should they have in your brain? How much are they paying rent? Well, if they're not, get them out of your head. Do you get bothered equally by unimportant as important? It's a big deal. So the story that came to mind, and I'll close this and we'll go to the phones in a minute. The story that came to mind for me was this would have been years ago. This was before I was married, and I had I would have been in my early 30s. I had worked really hard since when I got out of college, moved to California. I was 23, and had just worked really hard in my field and all this kind of stuff, but a lot in kind of other stuff and investing in real estate and other kinds of things. I just worked around the clock. I was kind of like a nut, right? But I had a dream, and my dream was I wanted to, like, even before I was married, I wanted to have like an adult house. I wanted to have a real home. When I thought this is kind of like, I'm an adult now. I got to get a real home of some sort. So anyway, I worked for. It took me about what I'm going to guess, probably 9 years maybe. And then I bought that home, and I loved it so much. And it was way more than I needed, but it was my dream. And we had events there and, parties. And I just loved my home. I just really loved it. And then one day, I don't know if you remember this, it was way back then. There were the Laguna Beach fires in Southern California, and it's moving up the coast, and the fires were taking over everything. I lived in Newport Beach, and it's coming up the coast, and right for where I lived, and the firemen raided the neighborhood, knocking doors. You got to get out of here. You got, I forget what they gave. It's like 30 minutes or something. We didn't know it was coming that way, and everybody had 30 minutes. And I'm watching my dream home at that time about to go away. And at 30 minutes, and I looked around the house. I go, I got to pack. I got 30 minutes to pack. You know what I took with me? Now, this was before you could store photos, on your cell phone or in the cloud. There was no cloud. So the meaningful photos were real photos. And you know what made it in my car? My German Shepherd, whom I loved with all of my heart, and a couple of boxes of photos of friends and family because they were irreplaceable, right? But what's the common denominator in those things? They're matters of the heart. They're what Jesus talked about, the connection. People that I was connected to. Starting with my dog. Any of you knew me back then, you'd know she was amazing. But the photos were relationships. And I looked around and said, you know what? Everything else in here is replaceable. It's stuff. The house is just stuff. It's a thing. It's going down. But these things are eternal. Anyway, so I took off. And I learned something that day. That there's not that much that's that important. It's certainly we enjoy things. God gave us lots of things to enjoy. But the things that are important, they have to do with relationship, the people you're connected to and the people you love. And I would include in that the expression of your calling and your gifts and your dreams. Those are important as well. But generally speaking, every calling that everyone has and every dream that everyone has, that's connected to people as well. You know, whatever you do for a living, that is an act of service. It's all about people. It's all about God, relationship. So look at your stress meter today. What are you stressed about? Number them and ask, why am I being like Martha, worried and bothered by so many things? There's somebody you really want to connect with, but you got to get ready because all the people are coming. Buy some paper plates. I remember, now close to this, when I think Olivia was like 3 years old or something, we were having a birthday party for her. And we have a friend who is so awesome at entertaining. I mean, she is so awesome. And she's an amazing, she's like what Martha Stewart wishes she were. She's so incredible. And so what happened, this birthday party for 3-year-olds. And I don't remember exactly, but I think it was like we were like probably 30 people over. Paper plates and Domino's pizza shows up at the door. And I mean, it was just so haphazard. Not much went into this because we were excited about seeing our friends and all this. And I remember our friend looks at it, she goes, I wish I had that much courage. Having a bunch of people over and just to do nothing. And it's like, I could relate to it. It's like, don't we all wish we were married sometimes and didn't have to worry so much. But, obviously there's appropriate times for the big feasts and get ready. But the point is, what gets us rattled? So take a look at that. All righty.